Trevor, if I could ask a favor.
Yep.
I'm gonna get into my meeting minutes, so if you see anybody that wants to come in, just, you come over by their name and then just hit admit.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Like this, Maya?
Yes,
Chris, did you get my certification or whatever you call it? Yeah, certification.
yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, it's 7:01, so let's get this going. This is the November 12th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals in Wellfleet, conducted over Zoom. Our chair, Sharon, isn't able to be here tonight, and neither is Mick. So I've been granted the dubious honor of chairing this. It's been a while, so I hope I can remember how to do it, but you guys can help me out. Gonna take things just a little bit out of order because there's a couple things we can get out of the way quickly. First, case number 20-17, Mandel Family Realty Trust. Map 40, parcels 158 and 155. This is an application for a special permit to reconstruct a single-family dwelling on a non-conforming lot. The lot had been previously developed with a single-family residence, which was destroyed by fire several years ago. The proposed dwelling will conform to the current setback criteria. And this has already been continued to our meeting in December, on December 10th. But I think we still need to officially move and vote on that. So if somebody could make a motion.
Who's the
What?
board?
Yeah, we
who's on
need
the
a
panel?
board.
The board will just be the members who are here.
Are there 6 of us though?
There are,
Five.
There are 5.
Okay,
oh, there are 6 of us.
yeah.
Lisa.
There's 6 of us here.
Oh.
Manny's here, Retha's here, Will's here, Andy's here, I'm here, and Jan is here.
That's 6.
So we need 5.
So I will set the board as everyone but Jan, I suppose.
Okay. That's what I get for opening my big mouth. Okay.
Yeah. So somebody make a motion?
I'll make a
I
motion.
so move to move to continue the meeting till December 10th.
Will moves. Anybody second?
I'll second.
Andy seconds, and we should do a voice vote. So I say aye. Manny?
Aye.
Andy already voted. And Retha?
Aye.
And I think that's everybody.
Will says aye.
Oh, and Will says aye. Well, you moved it, but yes, I guess you have to vote anyway.
Yes, I have to vote, yeah.
Okay. Do I have to vote? I guess.
Andy has to vote, yes.
Aye.
And now that's everybody.
There you got it.
Sorry, I'm a bit rusty. So that's being continued to December. The next one that we'll get out of the way is number 20-18, Granis. Chris, are you all set? Can I keep going?
Keep going.
Granis 3075 Baker Avenue, map 20, parcel 61. Application for a special permit to construct a second story on a dwelling which is located on a non-conforming parcel. We made a site visit yesterday, some of us, and discovered that construction was already underway on this project, which we found surprising, and contacted the building inspector. And the building inspector has placed a stop work order on the property until they can go through zoning and get a building permit. So in light of that, we got a letter from the applicant asking us, an email today, asking us to please, it says, Christine, please find this email as a formal request to withdraw our application, our ZBA application for 3075 Baker in Wellfleet without prior prejudice to tonight's meeting. And that's signed Dan Morse from Elite Property Services. So they have asked to withdraw. I guess I will, do we need to set a board to?
We do.
You do.
Suppose we do. So myself and Jan and Manny or we'll leave, how about we leave Andy off this one?
I'm fine with that.
So if somebody would like to make a motion to allow them to withdraw.
So moved.
Jan moves, someone second.
Second.
Second Manny, all in favor, voice vote. Jan,
Aye.
Manny,
Aye.
Will,
Aye.
Retha,
Aye.
and myself, aye. So that application has been withdrawn.
But I have a question about this. What happens with, they've had a stop on their construction? Is that what's happened?
The building inspector issued a stop work order, yes.
Okay. They also asked for a variance, not for a special permit. So-
Correct. The original application was not done correctly. So even if the issue with the building department hadn't happened, they would have still had to withdraw or continue it tonight anyway. Okay. Chris, you good?
I'm good.
All right, so then moving along, number 20-07, Starboard Tack Holdings, Maya Beckbaum and Thorbaum, 30 Ryder Court, map 14, parcel 19, application for a special permit to alter a pre-existing non-conforming property in the commercial zoning district by demolishing the existing two-story residential use building and constructing a two-story mixed-use building with commercial uses in the basement and first floor levels and two residential apartments, on the second floor. This case has been continued a number of times. I think we started hearing this way back in March or something. But I think we're ready to move forward with some discussion tonight. I know that there are a number of issues with parking and other things, but and we need to address the board because the board had been Will, who's still here, Retha, who's here tonight, myself, Janet, who's here, and Sharon, who is not here. So we will replace Sharon with Andy. And Andy, can you please confirm that you've read the minutes?
I not only read the minutes, but I watched the video of the previous hearing.
Excellent. And I believe Chris will also have a form for you to sign.
I signed it and
You did that,
emailed,
okay.
emailed it back to her.
So that's the board going forward. And with that, I will turn it over to the applicant.
Trevor, this is Ben Zender. I'm on the line for the applicants, Maya Beckbaum and Thorbaum. And I, just to go back one step, I wasn't quite sure which member is not sitting on this matter. Was it Manny?
Manny is
Okay.
the only member who's not sitting on this.
Okay, thank you. I'll just make a note.
Manny, I believe you recused yourself originally.
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you, Trevor. Again, Ben Zender, I'm here on the line. Maya and Thor are on the line as well to answer questions. And this matter has been in front of this board a number of times, April 16, June 11, July 9, October 8. And what we were waiting for was for the planning board to provide its commentary to this board under the development of significant impact section of the bylaw. The planning board has not, that I understand, has not yet provided any commentary to this board. And at the last hearing, we just planned, as the applicant planned on moving ahead at this point with what we believed would be appropriate changes to the site plan to address concerns that have been expressed by both neighbors and also by preliminary reports from fire, DPW, and police, all of whom in their submissions to this board suggested that the curb cuts on Briar Lane might pose a safety or a traffic hazard. So what we've done is submitted to this board a revised site plan which removes any parking on Briar Lane and instead provides a reduced amount of parking on the site of 10 spaces, primarily in existing parking areas. And then I've submitted to the board a memorandum requesting of the board, pursuant to your authority under the 6.3.13B provisions of the parking bylaw, that says that for all other uses that are not specifically identified in the bylaw, the Board of Appeals in a special permit situation has a right to determine the adequate or appropriate amount of parking. And in my memo, I've also outlined, and I won't go through the list, but that a significant number of businesses along Main Street don't provide parking or provide very little parking. And my clients believe that given the location of the proposed yoga studio, you know, at the intersection of Briar Lane and Main Street, that there is a fairly significant amount of public parking available locally, whether it be at the town hall, whether it's the Catholic Church parking lot, whether it's along Main Street, whether it's the library. There's a significant amount of parking available for this primarily morning business, such that if this board were to approve either the number of spaces proposed, which is 10 spaces, or even a lower number if the board thinks it's appropriate, they believe that they could manage this business quite effectively, having a reduced amount of parking on the site. The board may remember that the proposal is to remove an existing somewhat old structure, replace it with a yoga studio with 2 apartments above, which would replace 2 apartments that are being removed. And there's a 3rd apartment on site as well. So this will provide obviously needed housing, as well as I think will comply with the stated district objectives in the central district, which is to provide, you know, concurrent development of residential and non-residential uses. So we think it's a good project. We think that the input from the neighbors has been helpful. The input from the fire, police, and DPW has been very helpful. And the board has probably seen the responses from all 3 of those agencies, which have stated that the new parking plan addresses the concerns that they raised previously. So, you know, with that being said, you know, we'd like to just answer any questions that the board has, and then hopefully the board will find that we're in a position now to at least go to a vote on a permit. And thank you all.
There was a letter, right? We
Yeah.
received today?
There's a couple letters that I will read. If Ben, it sounds like you're done for now.
I am, Trevor. Thank you.
Let's see. We got an email on November 10th, I guess. This says to ZBA members, we are writing regarding our concerns with the new parking plan for the yoga and fitness studio on the corner of Briar Lane / Ryder Court. We reside at 35 Ryder Court, and in a few short years have seen this dirt lane go from entirely residential to having a construction business operated from Ryder Court, which creates a fair amount of commercial traffic, and now a request for another business with a Briar Lane address. However, with the traffic and parking entirely impacting Ryder Court. We request that the 7 spaces at the beginning of Ryder Court be reduced to no more than 5, and that the 8, 9, and 10 spaces be eliminated entirely so as not to create any additional commercial traffic in the same area where the construction business is located. Since there is a fair amount of public parking on Main Street, this should not have a tremendous impact on the business. Also, am wondering if a traffic study has been completed, and if not, can we request that one be done? Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Robert and Cindy. Oh, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this. Cosivera, 35 Ryder Court. So there's that, and then as Ben mentioned, we have correspondence from the police department, the DPW, and the fire department, which are all very brief, and I will read them. Michael Hurley, the chief of police, he sent an email saying that he does not have any further comments on the project outside of the previous ones regarding Briar Lane, which appear to be resolved. And Mark Vincent from the DPW sent an email that says, if there are any grade changes in relation to Ryder Court, we would need to see them through a curb cut application. Other than that, I have no other concerns based on the plan that has been submitted. And then finally, Mr. Chief Pauly from the fire department sent an email saying, we have reviewed the latest plan showing access off Ryder Court and find it acceptable to this department. Thank you for your assistance with this.
Mr. Chairman,
I don't think there were any other.
I think
Yes, Jan?
I think there were. Did we ever enter into the record a letter that we got from Philip Richardson, one dated May 26th and one
No.
dated June 13th? I don't think we
No,
did.
yeah, we didn't. That, because that letter was received quite a while ago and we haven't ever actually officially discussed this.
There's two of them.
Um,
Me
and
and June.
I do not have those in front of me. If you do, I would, perhaps
I
you could.
do. Okay, I'll read them. May 26, 2020, to Sharon Inger, Chair, care of Wellfleet Zoning Board of Appeals, yada, yada. Greetings. As a former ZBA member and Vice Chair, I am writing to you regarding the upcoming June 11 ZBA meeting, 2007 Starboard Tack Holdings, Inc., 20 Briar Lane, map 14, parcel 19. It appears that a recent expansion of the garage has taken place on the above mentioned property, and a solid fuel burning appliance has been installed in said garage. I believe this work should have required the issuance of a special permit and the issuance of various building permits before it was begun. From what I've been able to ascertain, none of that has happened. So if the above is true, then I believe that the non-conforming garage is now a non-complying structure. Plus, the expansion has increased the existing non-conforming lot coverage and has further violated the side setback requirement of the bylaw. Consequently, I request that the property not be afforded any new relief, i.e. a hearing for any new special permits, until the issue of non-compliance has been resolved to the satisfaction of the ZBA. I hope that you will look into this matter and act accordingly. Thank you. Sincerely, Philip Richardson. And then Mr. Richardson sent a second letter on June 13th, 2020. Christine Bates, care of Wellfleet Zoning Board of Appeals. Hi, Chris. Thanks for the application that you provided to me for hearing 20-07 Starboard Tack Holdings, Inc., 20 Briar Lane, map 14, parcel 19. Having copied the applicant's plot plan, I'm now enclosing the information regarding the areas of expansion that I spoke of in my original letter to the board dated 5/26/2020. On the plot plan, a shed of 10 by 18 is shown at one end of the garage, and a rectangular expansion of 10 by 15 is shown on the Main Street side of the garage. I believe both of these areas were constructed without either a special permit or building permits. I've enclosed a copy of the plot plan with those areas indicated in pink. I've also enclosed a copy of the assessor's property card indicating that the size of the garage was 18 by 20 when measured on April 19th, 2019, also indicated in pink. Would you please attach this information to my original letter? Thanks, Phil Richardson.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Chris, did we get any other letters that have not been acknowledged yet?
No, you're aware of all of them now.
Okay, thank you. I will go to the audience and ask if anyone would like to speak, but before I do that, I didn't know if, Ben, would you like to speak to Mr. Richardson's concerns?
I really can't. I wasn't aware of the correspondence, and I'm not aware of the construction. I can ask Thor to respond to that. We're not proposing to alter the garage at this point. It may be that we are required to come back to the board for a permit for the expansion of the garage. But that's not really what we're asking the board at this point. So I haven't seen any determination of the building inspector on this. What I would have to do is to talk with Thor and Maya, submit a request to the building inspector for a determination, and possibly come back to this board. But at this point, I don't have any information about this. And this is the first I'm hearing of it as well, so.
Okay. All right, well, we'll get to the applicant and perhaps they can speak to it when, at that time. But would
Thank you.
anyone else from the audience like to say anything? Oh, I see Phil Richardson has his hand up. So I don't know, Chris, how do we let him talk?
He's got to just take himself off of mute.
Oh, okay. Well, Phil, if you'd like to take yourself off mute.
Yeah, I think I'm there.
Yes, thank you.
I'd like to raise another potential problem for the appeals board. For the last 6 months, this has been advertised incorrectly. It's been advertised as in the commercial district and not the central district. So potentially that, having sat on the board for 18 years, this potentially could raise the question of a lawsuit in an appeals situation with the ZBA. So your board might want to think about that before you proceed with this hearing. And maybe it should be closed and re-advertised correctly. Otherwise, I think you're opening yourself up for, a potential lawsuit if lawsuits are going to be forthcoming.
Bill, could you quickly just repeat what district did you think that the application was advertised in?
It's on the applications I have and on the ZBA website at the town. It's listed in the commercial district, not the central district.
The application I have in front of me says Central District, so I'm not sure.
I think the question is though, how is it advertised, the legal advertisement?
Oh, that I'm not sure.
I never identify what the district is in legal ads.
However, well, you know what? I'm looking at the legal notice that came out for this meeting. And it says to alter a pre-existing non-conforming property in the commercial zoning district.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
I think that's because the application that I have with my package that was signed by Ben says it's in the commercial district.
That's true.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, well, okay, I see it now. Yeah, on the first page, it says it's in the commercial district. On the second page, where it asks explicitly what district it's located, it says central. So
Yeah.
it says both on the application. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Ben.
I think that Mr. Richardson may be right. It may well have been advertised as being in the commercial district. I don't believe that's fatal to the hearing of this matter. And in any event, that's the risk that the applicant runs, not the town, if a permit's granted and if somebody chooses to appeal it. But the advertisement also identifies the map and parcel, identifies the street address. So, we're comfortable going forward with that. We did incorrectly state the zoning district as in part of the application. That was our fault.
Hey, Trevor, can I interrupt here?
Yes, go ahead.
If the board is sued, it's the taxpayers' money that's going to have to deal with this. Something you really, I think, should consider before moving ahead. I know, having been sued on this board hundreds of times for 18 years.
Hundreds of times, Phil. Gee, I wouldn't admit to that.
It's a good thing you're off.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I think hundreds of times is probably hyperbolic. And second of all, if the board is sued for the granting of a permit to a private applicant, the town always takes the position that the applicant bears the laboring oar of defending the matter, and town council will come in for notice purposes only, but will not engage in the defense of the matter. So, in any event, it's the applicant's risk at this hearing. It's not the town's risk. I don't believe it is. So,
Okay.
Well,
I'll let the board discuss whether or not they find that to be an issue. But before we do that, I see that Lydia Vivante has her hand up. So if she would like to speak, please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. I'm curious to know if abutters were notified of this meeting tonight? And also, did the Zoning Board of Appeals have a chance to review the letters that the Historical Commission sent regarding the demolition delay and exploring alternatives to demolition, including the illustrations created by the design staff at the Cape Cod Commission with alternatives to tearing down this historic house?
Okay. Thank you. As far as I know, the abutters were all notified. Of course, that would have been way back in April when the case first came before us. I don't believe that abutters are notified every time a case is continued. It's incumbent upon abutters to pay attention to what happens at the meetings and follow along if cases get continued. Chris, did we get any letters from the historic board on this?
I think that this issue was discussed at our very first hearing. If we go back in terms of the letters, and I believe, if I'm correct, I don't have them in front of me. I'm sorry, I apologize, but it was, I think Ben made a remark that the Cape Cod Commission, that clear me up on this, really didn't have too much power over the design of the house, the proposed house.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Ben.
Look, the historic committee imposed an 18-month demolition delay on the applicant, which is a significant penalty on the development of the applicant. Once the Historic Commission imposes that delay, their jurisdiction over this matter is over. There's nothing else for them to do. They have, of their own volition, engaged the Cape Cod Commission to try to show my client what the Cape Cod Commission thinks an appropriate design would be, but that has nothing to do with this board. It's not part of this board's 8.4.2 review criteria. And I think Lydia's attempt to use this board as an arm of the Historical Commission is not really within the legal authority of either Historic Commission or this board.
Right, and the applicant would be under no obligation to follow any suggestions of the Historic Board once their 18-month demolition delay is over.
That is correct.
If I could interrupt for just a moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that what the Historical Commission is doing is following the general bylaw, the demolition delay bylaw, which explicitly says that one of the things we should do is explore alternatives to demolition.
Right, understood. Will, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I as a board member, I have no desire or whatsoever to get into architectural drawings. I don't. That's something I possess no expertise in, and I can't speak for other members of the board. But that's someplace we should not be going, in my humble opinion.
Oh, no, I don't think it's your humble opinion at all. It's completely out of our jurisdiction. Does anybody want to discuss the issue of how this has been advertised? Are we comfortable moving forward with it as it is?
I mean, I don't think that this is the fact that the application has the wrong district in it is a how did we used to say it as lawyers?
Jurisdictional.
No, it's well, that's what you're saying, and I'm saying it's not really a substantive.
It's a harmless error, Andy.
Thank you. It's a harmless error.
It is noted correctly on the second page where it's
Yes, I know that.
the application in which district is it located. Yeah, I'm comfortable moving forward with it as it is.
I am
So
too.
am I.
Okay.
The lawyers are comfortable, I'm comfortable.
Okay. All right. So then I think we can table that issue for now. I think we've come to the agreement that the historic issues are not germane to the discussions of this board. So if the board would like to, would anybody else from the audience like to say anything while I don't see any other hands up. Phil, I don't know if you still have your hand up from before, but I will come back to the audience again later. For now, I'd like to hear from some members of the board and see what questions or discussion we might want to have.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Um,
Who said that? Who said that? Jan?
I think
Oh.
it's Rita. Rita.
The letter we received said they request 7 spaces rather than the 10.
Letter from the abutter, from the neighbor?
Yes, that we got this time. It says we request that the 7 spaces beginning with be reduced to no more than 5. I'm thinking that maybe there should be a compromise there. And instead of 5 and instead of 10, there might be 7.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments on parking? I do have a couple things I'd like to throw out on the parking.
I have a number of questions, but why don't you go, Trevor? Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
It seems to me that there's a number of uses here. We've got two apartments upstairs, I believe. And we're not going to have as much parking on the property as would technically be required because there just isn't space to do that. So the presumption then will be that people will be able to find places to park in town, which makes perfect sense in this location and for this business. What I wanted to discussed was the people who have the apartments upstairs. I don't think they should be expected to have to find a place to park at town hall or somewhere else to get to where they live. So a certain number of spaces, how many, can someone refresh my memory of how many it is per unit, dwelling unit? Is it 1 or 2?
I think it's 2.
Is it
I'll
2
go
per
get it.
dwelling?
It's 1.5, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
it's 1.5.
Okay, so 3 parking spaces immediately should be designated for the residents so that when they get home from work, they can park their car somewhere and there isn't someone who's taking an exercise class parked in their spot. So that takes our 7 proposed parking spaces. I'm trying to look at how many parking spaces might be left for the business. 7 are 10 and brings it down to 7. Then of those 7 spaces, at least 1 is going to need to be probably designated for
The employee.
the employee.
Yep.
So the employee doesn't have to drive around town finding a place to park. So
Right.
that leaves at most, assuming we only designate 1 for an employee, and we might want to designate perhaps 2 for employees. That leaves at most 5 or 6 for people who are patronizing the business, which is perhaps fine. I'm not raising that as potentially as an issue. I just wanted to bring it up as a point of discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one suggestion we could make was that, is that the parking on the property be limited to the residents and handicap parking for the business. So that, the people that are patronizing the business aren't coming on site to park.
So all of those people would have to find.
Yeah, we're going to have some handicap spots, at least 1 or 2 handicap spots, but
Right,
you could put a restriction on this use that patron parking not be on site. And that would mean that, in that parking area, that shell area that's there, that could easily accommodate a handicap spot and then 1 or 2 employees could come in, but the neighbors wouldn't be looking at the ebb and flow of the patrons coming and going for classes or for private sessions.
Yeah, to me, that sounds like a good idea. Ben, how many spaces do you think you would need in total if we did that? We know we need 3 for the apartments.
Well, technically, you need 4.5 for the apartments. It's the zoning code says 1.5 per apartment. So I think, and there are 3 spaces shown on the north side of the property, which we had thought would be residence parking, so that as you get further up Ryder Court, there wouldn't be any activity for the business. So that would leave, if you had those 3 spaces, you could. I mean, there really is a shell parking area there that's already there.
Right.
So we could certainly reorient the plan to change the number of spaces that are shown. But I think that if the board were to condition this such that the only parking on the site is the residential use handicap space and handicap spaces, and maybe at most 2 spaces for employees, I think that would probably limit that use. How the board wants to get from here to there on a plan, I'm not sure.
I think that's fine, but my question is, how many spaces do you think you would end up with then if it's not going to be
Sounds
10?
like
how many
6.
is it
Sounds
gonna
like 6.
6?
I think 7. I think, well, let's say if you round the residence parking from 4.5 to 5, which I think is too much. 2 for employees at 7, and 1 for handicap, that's 8 spaces instead of we're showing 10.
So it would eliminate 2.
Yeah, we can eliminate 2 spaces.
Okay. Other discussion from the board, Will?
Yeah, what we haven't talked about the cottage or the garage and
No.
what parking. So, I mean, is the cottage unoccupied? Are there residents in it? What's there?
It's one of the apartments, Will. Of the 3 apartments we're talking about, it's one of them. There are 2 apartments in the
Right,
building
right.
to be built.
Right, there's
Ah,
2
gotcha.
apartments upstairs, but there's 3
Okay.
altogether. I forgot. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means that's where you get the 5, Ben?
Yes, Will. I guess it's 1.5 per apartment. There are 2
I
to be
got
built in the building, that plus the cottage. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah,
Can
1.5.
I ask what the bottom line is for, Ben, what you said? I didn't catch that.
I don't need to say anything anymore.
The bottom line is that there are 3 apartments on site. The garage, the cottage is 1, 2 in the building. I'm saying the code requires 1.5 per apartment. We round it up to 5 spaces, 2 for handicap, 2 for employees. Would be, well, that would be 9. But I believe we could have 1 handicap space in this use. I think if we limit it to 8 spaces and no patron parking on site would probably, I think that would be appropriate on the site.
Wait, Ben, I'm not following your math.
Yeah, I'm not following my math, Andy.
Okay, so residential areas, 1.5 spaces
Yes.
for each apartment,
Right.
each unit, and there are 3.
3.
Three.
Okay, so let's see, that gives you what? 5.
4.5.
4.5 or 5.
Yeah, okay, I got you. I didn't know, I forgot there were 3 at the cottage.
Yeah,
All
that's-
right. And the number, let's go for the number for the employees.
We don't really need employee parking there. I mean, Maya could have her employees park off site, but there is a shell parking area that's there already. I think that would accommodate them.
No, I'm just following your argument, which I believe was that that's the basis by which you were going to determine the number of spaces you weren't going to determine. There were going to be no spaces for patrons except for a
Yes.
handicap patron, right?
Yes,
And that was one space.
Yes.
I believe it's 1.
Okay, so now we got 5 and 1 and 6, and the employee, you were going to go for 2.
I think 2 is appropriate. That's 8.
But I'm just looking on our regulations to determine. I should know this by heart, but I don't. How many a business is entitled to?
It's based on the square footage of the business, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's based on square footage for specified uses. This use doesn't fall within any of the specified uses. And so under the code, it says the board shall determine in a special permit situation. For most business uses, it's 1 space for every 150 square feet of floor area,
Right.
and 1 space for every 3 employees.
Ben, can I ask you a question? On section 6.3.7, it sort of seems to me if there hasn't been a specific non-residential use, then it's still 1 space for each 3 employees and 1 space for 150 square feet of gross floor area. So I'm wondering why doesn't that apply? Because it's in all other residential uses and in all other non-residential uses.
Yeah, it says in all of the cases, non-residential uses in a residential area.
Right.
And
Well, this is a residential area. There's houses
Yeah.
all around it. It doesn't say residential zone. It says residential area.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the board could apply that. I mean, I think the board could apply that if they wanted, but again, this is a mixed use in I believe a mixed use area, where you have, it's right on the line where we have commercial businesses and commercial operations as well as residential uses. So it sort of sits right in between the 2.
Okay,
And
thanks.
we know we can't meet that parking threshold anyway. There isn't the area to do it. So
Okay.
any other comments on
Chairman,
parking while we're talking about that?
we're sticking just to parking right now, right? Because
Well,
I have
we
another
No,
question.
I'd
We
like
don't-
to say something,
don't have
please. I'd like to say something.
I
Okay.
thought you interrupted me.
This is Brad Williams. I live at 30 Briar Lane. I am the closest abutter to Thor and Maya. One of the things that I think you're totally missing completely is that Thor runs his business out of 20 Briar Lane. He has a construction business and he has employees and he has a number of different trucks going in and out. And it is not what you're saying. You're looking at it as just what the building is able to do, but in actual fact, it's more than that and has been more than that. And the fact is that any kind of home occupation in terms of construction, and I hate to say this because I don't want to screw up their lives, but in actual fact, you're only allowed to have 1 employee and you have to live in the business, in the building. And that isn't happening. He lives across the street in a different building. And you're not paying attention to that. That is the most important thing, because you're completely blowing out any of the zoning bylaws that have been put in place. Please stop and look at that. I think it's important. I think it's also important to the village of Wellfleet. We need to respect this village, and it's not happening. And it's time that we stop, take a breath, work it out, and try to see if we can come to some kind of agreement. I don't care if they run a brothel there. I really don't. They could do whatever they want to do. But I think it's important that we stay within the zoning bylaws and what's important. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your input. We were having discussion amongst the board, so we'll go back to the audience later if we can try to keep conversation within the board at this time. Jan, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I got a little distracted here. I did get interrupted by Mr. Williams, which I didn't appreciate, but Mr. Williams brought up some interesting points. I'm concerned about a lot of like, what exactly is going on this property. There's a lot going on, which, as Mr. Williams pointed out. So I think we do have to take a look at that, and I have some specific questions about that. But do you want me to just stick to parking for right now, Trevor?
No, I think we've discussed parking. I think we can move on.
Okay, I have one more question about parking though. Will, you were on a parking task force, if I may, through you, Trevor, I'm sorry.
Yes.
One of the things that was brought up with the parking task force that the ZBA has allowed reductions in parking requirements, and some people were annoyed about that. I'd like to know if you have any comment about that, Will, about.
Yeah, as a member of the parking committee, we recommended that no further commercial uses be allowed without adequate on-site parking. So if this had come before us, we would have given. Speaking for myself, I'm not the chair, but I think it would have gotten a very, very cool reception. But so anyway, that's my response to your particular
Should I
question.
keep going, Trevor?
Yeah, keep going, Jan.
Okay, so I have a real basic question that it's probably my confusion, and I'm hoping either you or through you, Ben, can explain something to me. So 5.4.13, intensity of use application for more than one allowed principal use or principal building. This is going to be more than one principal use in a building. So it says more than one allowed principal use or principal building may be permitted on a lot in District C and District C2 with a special permit. And it goes on. But I've always interpreted that to mean that in every district other than C or C2, more than one principal use or principal building is not allowed. Am I misinterpreting that bylaw, number one? And number two, if I'm not, how can we allow more than one principal use in this building?
I don't have an answer for that immediately. Ben, do you have any comments on that? Ben, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
I'd have to go back and look at that section of the bylaw, but I think if the board were to take the position that if you can't have more than one principal use in the central district, there are so many properties in the central district that have multiple uses on their sites, and many buildings that do. So, Jan, I'm reading the bylaw. I agree with you. It says what it says, but again, I think that probably is honored in the breach.
I missed the last thing you said. It's probably what?
Honored in the breach.
I don't know what that means.
It just means I just when you begin to look just down this section of Main Street and look at the uses that certain buildings have, you have for example, the building right next to the lighthouse on the left, many uses in that building. There are just many buildings in this all through town that have more than one principal use that are in the central district. And so you're right. I think the inference from that is that in the C district and the C2 district, you need a special permit to have more than one principal use.
Yeah.
You can read that as saying that you can't have more than one principal use outside of the C and the C2 district, but that doesn't make any sense in the central district. I don't believe that it does.
Okay, I'm just not sure how to ignore that, but okay.
Yeah, let me kick in on that. But Ben, those businesses aren't applying to convert what's now totally residential to a split use. And
No.
taking what Mr. Richardson said is you've also got a garage, so you've got 3 uses on the property.
Right. And look, the uses have to comply with the zoning bylaw in terms of whether they're permitted in that district. Whether it's 2 uses or 3 uses, I don't think changes the legal structure that we have here. So I think the board has to look at the lot as a whole to see whether or not those uses are compatible and meet your requirements. But again, I can go back to my arguments in the first hearing, which is that this allows this building to be used by this couple to survive and thrive in what is really this, the heart of the town, the central district. So.
Okay. And I'm also thinking about the juice bar. I'm wondering exactly how that's going to operate. Is that not a separate use? Is that something like a restaurant? Is there going to be food? What is going to be going on in the juice bar?
If you don't mind, Trevor, I'd like to ask Maya to address that.
Sure, that's fine.
If she could. Maya.
Hi. So it would be a walk-up only, no seats, smoothies, juices, order before your session, carry out when you're done, or walk up to just the window, order and carry away.
Would it be restricted to patrons of the gym?
Ideally, no.
Okay.
If somebody would like to walk in off the street and order a fresh squeezed juice and add protein powder and, make their day a little bit healthier, then I welcome that.
Mm-hmm.
That's another use.
That's retail.
Let me just say that it's really hard in this town for young people to make a living, and I admire you and I'd really like to support your dream because I think it's a really cool idea. I think we need to really understand what's going on the property and also what you're planning, because I think that's really important.
If it needs to be limited to just in-house clients, it can be limited to in-house clients. It kind of cuts me at the knee a little bit for a little bit of income, but so, you walk into a different space somewhere else, and most facilities will be able to, you can walk up to the counter when you're registering for a class and say, I would like that fresh squeezed pomegranate juice today. I'd like to add a little bit of protein powder to that, and I'll pick it up on the way out. All right, great, no problem. With people being limited in this town and not having access to that kind of product anywhere else in town, I figured it might be a nice opportunity to open it up to somebody else that might not be taking a class necessarily, but that would like a fresh squeezed juice that morning.
Trevor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Through you, I don't object to them doing that. I just don't think that this has been presented to us. I don't think all this, do we need a special permit for this juice bar as a separate use? I'm pretty confused about what we're doing here.
Yeah.
What we're allowing, what they're asking for.
Ben, can I speak, Jen?
Please.
May I interrupt you? I think, Ben, I would appreciate seeing a narrative in light of what Mr. Williams said as well, as just what's going on this entire property, what the hours of operation will be, what's in terms of the shop, the business, because it's looking like a mighty intense use when you throw in the shop, and I'm glad Mr. Williams brought that up because I didn't know that. And I think that's very relevant to a bunch of issues.
We can give you a more comprehensive narrative, Will.
Can I say just one more thing?
Go ahead.
The shop aspect would only be ever open when I'm actually there, and I'm there from 7 in the morning till about 2 o'clock. Right now, I do not do afternoon classes or anything, but it's not a 5 in the morning till 5 at night. It's not who I am. It's not what I want. It's small, it's boutique. It's not, I don't want seats. It's just a level of adding to the clientele that's already there. That's it. I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
I just want to be clear about, I'm sorry, you raised your
Oh,
hand
go
and I didn't.
Go ahead, Andy.
First of all, let me say, I also agree that we should encourage businesses. We should encourage, and we should also, I mean, this is going to, I don't know if these apartments are going to be affordable, but at least they're going to be, residences that will be available. And so all of that to me is something we should be glad to, we should encourage, and I do. I'm just fearful that we're running into some regulatory impediments, and I'm sure Ben understands what I'm saying. But let me stop there and then just ask a question. Really, I wasn't clear. I mean, Mr. Williams has just said Briar Lane about the Thor's business. I'll just call it that, the shop. I assume that's what he's talking about. I didn't. Is that on the same piece of property as this is going to be on?
If I may, Trevor.
Yep. Go ahead.
And if you look at the site plan that we've presented, there's a structure that's called a garage.
Yeah, I see it.
And
It is on
then-
the same property.
It is on the same property. And then across the street to the left, you can just see the corner of a building in this side of the street. You see that little corner that's unmarked right there?
Yeah, I think so.
It's right across is 20 Ryder Court, but the next structure down Ryder Court on the right-hand side, that's Thor and Maya's home.
Okay.
And so Thor
okay.
is a build. If I get that wrong, Maya, let me know. But Thor is a building contractor, so he keeps supplies and materials and performs certain operations in the garage there as part of his building contracting business. That's an offsite business that he runs out of his home across the street. So he does have, his employees will come and go, or he will come and go, and he will put materials in there, take materials out. And Thor can tell you more about the operations on a day-to-day basis. I don't understand exactly what those are.
No, I understood all that. I was there. I've looked at it. I've been there. It's just that Mr. Williams, I guess, Rexman and Williams, said something about Briar Lane, and I don't see how, if there's any traffic that goes in and out that's related to the garage, I would assume it would be Ryder Court, not Briar Lane.
No,
That is correct.
Perhaps
Okay.
you just misspoke.
Okay, I might have misunderstood what he was saying.
Jan, what did you want to add?
I had 2 more points. This has been going on for so long, and I feel very badly for Maya and Thor and the abutters. It's pretty outrageous how long this has been strung out. But I do want to point out, because I think we've all forgotten, that right now there's an 18% building coverage where 15% is allowed, and their request, what they're asking for is 24%. And I personally think that's a lot. I just want to let you know that now, because this has gone on for a long time. And the other thing is, I think we should give Maya and Thor an answer now about a traffic study. I'm not saying I think we need one, but abutters asked for it, and we shouldn't let them, hang on that. We should tell them now. Are they going to need a traffic study?
Mr. Chairman?
I'm not, go ahead. Okay, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah.
If I may, look, I tell this to every board that will listen about traffic studies. I'm involved in a lot of projects, some of which are much more intensive in larger towns. Local boards and people that live in these neighborhoods are much better equipped to understand traffic patterns and traffic impacts than a traffic expert. A traffic study would come in and would do traffic counts along Briar Lane and Main Street and Ryder Court, and would tell you what those traffic counts are. And then they would tell you based on a national standard what the expected traffic would be from a yoga studio of this size. But given the expense and the time that would be incurred in doing it, I don't think it would provide valuable information to this board. Certain other activities certainly, but I don't think here it would be valuable.
Could we
Thank you.
vote on it tonight or something, this, Trevor, so that it doesn't come up again? I mean, yes or no?
Sorry, what? Go ahead, say that again, Jen.
Would it be a good idea to vote on it tonight, though, and address this issue so that it's not hanging over Maya and Thor's head?
Vote specifically on the need for a traffic study?
Yeah, do other members of the board feel we should do that just to get it off everybody's plate, or one way or the other?
Yeah, I don't know if it's something that we should or vote on. I certainly think we can discuss it and come to a consensus whether we need one or not.
Yeah.
Yes, Will.
Yeah, I mean, even if you really can't order a traffic study until you know what the uses are going to be of the property and how many parking spaces
Yes,
you're going
I
to
agree.
have. And once you sort of narrowed that down, then you can, I mean, my view itself is, because I've done years of zoning work and traffic study work, and this is a pretty small use in terms of ordering a traffic study, which can be very, very expensive. And it's not, at least to my view, it doesn't warrant a traffic study. But you couldn't even go there until you're telling the traffic engineers what the use of the property is going to be.
Yeah, I agree with Will. I also agree with with Ben's sentiment that I think traffic studies, I mean, we've seen a number of them on this board, and they rarely tell us something that we don't already know. And I don't think this project particularly warrants that at this time.
I
I
agree.
don't either. I just wanted to, I don't think it warrants it either. I just
Yeah,
wanted
okay.
to get that out there.
That's fine. I do see that a couple members have, audience members have their hands raised. I will come back to the audience, but I'm still keeping discussion amongst the board at this time. But I just want to let you know that I do see that you have your hands up. Ben, can we talk about, maybe Maya and Thor, you guys need to weigh in on this, but that garage building that's there now, I'd like to address Mr. Richardson's concerns. I think it would be helpful for the board to know the history of the garage, if there were expansions made on the garage, whether they were permitted, what the garage is used for, what the garage is proposed to be used for. I think it would be good to go over all that. So I don't know who'd like to speak to that, but.
Mr. Chairman, or
Yes.
Trevor, I'm sorry, Trevor, I'm going to let Thor describe,
Okay.
what the history of the garage is. I just don't know. I think it's appropriate for the board to both ask the question and get the information before it makes a decision. So,
Yeah.
Thor.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Hi,
Yes.
Yes.
good evening. So the garage is basically somewhat of a workshop, somewhat of storage. There's a fence around it that I put up to kind of contain the storage and the excess material and stuff like that. There has been some expansions on it. I tried to keep them under a certain amount of space. I did not permit any of those. I tried to keep them under a shed size, but it kind of happened based on necessity as opposed to me being. I did one part as a greenhouse. It fell apart. I just put that. I tried to make it look halfway decent, so I just put some plywood on it. It's full of stuff that it's perishable at the moment. And that's basically where that stands. I'd be willing to answer any other questions about that. But that's basically what it is. Employees do come and go from there. There is some tools inside the shop that get used, and a lot of storage, tremendous amount of storage there. We live directly across the street. My house and my office is in my basement there. So, I mean, I technically run business out of our house, and storage and somewhat of a workshop is across the street there. And that's it.
And were there expansions made to the garage recently, additions constructed on the garage?
There was some expansions to the garage, yes.
And were those permitted when you did that?
I did not get those permitted. I did not.
They fall within.
And when you bought the property, was that used as a workshop and storage area?
The garage was used as many things when we bought it.
I know, but what was it used
Yeah.
as a workshop?
Yes. Yes. And storage as well.
It was,
Yes.
but now who used it for that?
Well, Christine
And Bob Keese, who owned the
Keese owned
property
it.
before.
had a gardening shop inside there and running water in there from a hose and stuff like that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Well, I don't know if the fact that those additions to the garage were not done with a permit, if that has any effect on bearing on us
What?
going forward, but it's an interesting thing to note. Does anyone else from the board have anything else they'd like to discuss? Are there any issues, Ben, with the height of this building? I'm looking at the plans now. When Sharon and I went over this, there was some discussion that perhaps the building was 31 feet tall, but I don't, oh, here it is. And that shows it as 28. Is it your contention that it's 28 feet from average grade? Ben, you're muted again.
Thanks, Greg. I do that out of courtesy for the board. My plans are showing that it's 26 from the grade. I can't tell you what it is from average grade, but I can tell you that we're not applying for a height variance, so it can't be constructed over 28. It just wouldn't be allowed to be. So.
Okay. Okay. Any other issues from the board? No. All right, then I'm going to go back to the audience. I see that Bradford's iPad has his hand up again. Was that hand up from last time, or did you want to say something else? Not sure if I need to do something to unmute you or not.
Does that work?
Yes.
Am I heard?
I can hear you. Yep.
I do have a question about the wood stove in the garage. Being in the central district and being in this very volatile situation in terms of fire, that all it would take would be for that garage to catch on fire, and it would jeopardize all of our structures in the area. And that I'm concerned that that wasn't permitted. And I'm worried that maybe that is an issue. And I really would like to have that looked at and be considered, because we could lose everything that we own by a simple spark. And I think that needs to be taken care of.
Okay. Thank you for your input. Mr. Richardson, you've got your hand up again.
Yes. Will raised the question about what the garage was used for. That property has always been residential. The Keyses didn't run any sort of business or anything out of it. And I know that because I've lived next door to it for most of my life, or half my life, or more than actually 40 years or something like that. So to say that that was some sort of business operation is ridiculous. I'd also like to point out, I'm not sure what you're looking at for lot coverage, but the expansion of the garage is two different things. And I don't think when Ben calculated the lot coverage, he was using the original garage. He used the garage after it had been expanded, which amounts to something like 360 more square feet. So that knocks down what it looks like the lot coverage is in the new proposal. So I think you really have to go back and back out that 360 extra feet that garage has been expanded, and then apply that towards the new proposal. And you come up with 25.74% lot coverage in the central district.
Jan, that's about what you said, isn't it? 25%?
I think so.
Yeah.
What they were applying, asking, 24%, yeah.
Okay.
I got 25.74.
Okay.
The other things, in terms of the expansion of the garage, it's a violation of the zoning bylaw. Expanded along the lot line, increased over the lot coverage. The board can't just let these things slide.
Mhm.
I think you have to deal with that, and you have to resolve some of these issues before it moves ahead. I mean, if you're just going to let them off the hook to go and get no permits on any of these things, and now give them a new project and agree to it without looking at what's already been done, illegally on the property. The other thing I'd like to say about the parking is that you hammered Olaf across the street about parking. It was one of the last hearings that Bruce sat on. And he was very adamant about the parking, that Olaf had to meet the parking in the district. And you all agreed to it back then. And now you're saying just the opposite with parking on this project. You guys got to get your act together and be consistent, because the next person that comes down the road and says, well, wait a minute, over here you did this, over there you did that. Granted, each one isn't dependent upon the other, but there's no consistency happening here in comparison to what if I was Olaf and he saw what you were maybe going to give them for parking when he got hammered by you guys 6 months ago for parking, I think you really got to take another look at the parking. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Ben, did you unmute because you wanted to say something?
No, I just thought a question might be coming my way and I didn't want to be speaking into the air again, but I have nothing to say.
Thank you. Does anyone else from the audience want to chime in? I don't see any hands going up. So I think it seems like the board has a number of issues that we need to grapple with. I'll try to summarize the list that I have, and you guys can throw in anything I might have missed, but we have the issue of the garage and the what appear to be unpermitted expansions to that, including possibly a wood stove that was not permitted. We have obviously the parking issue, where we can potentially compromise on the number of spaces, but that needs to be discussed. We have the issue of lot coverage, which is going up significantly to 24 or 25, or perhaps even as close as 26%. And we have the issue of the number of uses, which by my count, we are up to 3 residential with 2 apartments and a cottage apartment, the exercise and yoga studio, the juice bar, and the garage workshop space. And That's what I've got on my list. Did I miss anything?
That's right.
I
All
think
right,
you got it.
so I would like a little direction from the board as to how we want to go forward with this list of issues that we need to resolve. Will,
I think, I mean, I think we need to deal with one issue certainly is, I asked Ben before to say what the uses were going to be. So we have a good sense of that. But I also need to think we need to nail down in terms of the garage, whether that needs to be part of the relief that they're asking for. That if Mr. Richardson is correct and this was in fact not a commercial use before, it was primarily a residential use, then that needs to be part of this application as well.
including potentially the expansions as an after the fact application.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Retha, Andy,
Chairman,
anything
I do
else?
not think we are at a point where we can make a decision tonight about this, permitting this. I think we have a lot to find out about. Some things that were not clear from the presentation before.
Okay. Andy?
Yeah, I agree. I will say that if the applicant were to limit, and I don't know legally whether this is true, and I have to look into it, but in my mind, if the applicant were to limit the sale of juices or whatever to patrons of the bar, of the gym, I don't see that as a separate use. And perhaps legally I'm wrong. I probably should know this, but I will say that. But I agree with what everybody else has said. We've got the garage situation is an issue, and I don't think we can make a decision tonight.
Okay. Jan, any final thoughts?
I agree with what everybody said. I just want to throw one other thing out there for us all to think about. And I don't remember exactly what it says, but there's a service trade home business, and I don't know what you're allowed and not allowed. And I think one of the questions, without reading it, but one of the questions is this a service trade home business? I mean, Thor owns the property, but he's not living on the property.
That's right.
Right.
And I
So-
don't know the answer to that. And maybe we need town council to help us with that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, clearly, if he didn't own the property, it wouldn't be, but he does, but he doesn't live on it. So yes, you're right. Okay. Ben, do you have any input as to
I
where?
don't. I think I need to take a step back from this and sit down with Thor and Maya and address these issues. Trevor, I think you've done a good job of identifying the issues. And also I'm listening to Brad carefully and Mr. Richardson as well. I think we need to go back and look at the garage, both from a permitting standpoint and a use standpoint. And then I think we need to give the board a fuller narrative that you feel, adequately describes the intended use for the property. And the other thing that, Trevor brought up in passing that I think is important for us to look at is the existing and proposed lot coverage on the property. Those numbers are, we rely on the engineers to do those calculations. And so I can't tell you whether they're correct or not. I assume that they are, they're stamped. But heeding Mr. Richardson's statements, I think we'll go back and we'll look at the existing permitted garage and do some calculations and then show the board what those numbers look like with and without the additions to the garage, so that you have at least good base numbers to work from. So I would ask for a continuance on this to allow us to address these issues and then come back and, I'm not sure we're changing the proposal, but at least we can understand exactly what relief we need and what relief we don't need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd really like to see you dig into the garage issue and whether or not there are any repercussions if the additions to the garage were done without a permit, and they should have, if they should have had a permit.
Yeah, understood.
Um,
So
okay,
we would be
so-
requesting continuance.
All right, so it sounds like we're definitely heading in the direction of a continuance. Does anyone from the board have any final things to throw out there before we talk about a date? No. Okay, so Ben, how long do you think you might want to continue this out to?
30 days.
30 days?
Yeah.
So that would be Chris, it's December 10th, correct? Is our next meeting?
Yes, December 10th.
And we would need the information in, at least a week ahead of time. We understand that.
Correct. All right, then.
Actually, and I may just to prep the board, I may request a continuance without even showing to go another. I just don't want to prejudice from coming back if we can identify these issues quickly.
Understood.
Okay.
So I will move to continue this to December 10th.
A second.
I will second it.
Who said that first? I think
I will.
Rita
Or
said that
Jen.
first.
Who did it?
Rita got in there first. Rita seconded. All in favor of myself, I, Rita,
Aye.
Will,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
Okay, so continued to December 10th.
Thank you all. It's nice to have a hearing with you again.
Okay.
And
Take care, Ben.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
okay, I need a moment to organize my paperwork here. Chris, are you with us?
I'm with you. I'm ready.
Okay,
One quick thing.
yes.
Oh, Chris, should we correct the legal notice for Starboard Tack to say Central District, not commercial? Next time it's advertised. Just to make note of that.
Do that because I'm allowed to change what the applicants put in.
Yeah, she's just reprinting exactly what the application says. so.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So the next case is McDavitt, and I need to recuse myself from that one. So I will mute my microphone and turn off my camera. And I am going to, somebody needs to chair that.
That
Oh.
would be me.
Will's going to chair that. And we also need to, well, I'm recusing myself, obviously, but just the board for that had been Sharon, Mick, Will, Rita, and Janet. Mick is not here. Manny is recusing himself, as he has, I assume, right? As you had
Yes.
previously.
Yes.
Someone needs to replace Sharon. That would be Andy. And that will leave a 4-person board. So with that, I'm gonna get off the line here, and Will, you can take
Okay.
over.
All righty.
And before you
Um,
start, I just want to make sure that it's on the record that I have watched the video of this matter. I've gone on a site visit and read the minutes, so. Go ahead, Will.
Okay. All right. The matter of case number 20-14, Paul and Patricia McDavitt, 99 Holbrook Avenue, for special permits to construct a farmer's porch on the front and a deck off the rear. And before I call up the applicant to discuss his revised plan, this is a continuation from last month. But I believe the law is, with a 4-person board, you need 4 affirmative votes. So I just want to make sure the applicant's aware of that with the a 5-member board, a 4-1 passes. With a 4-member board, a 3-1 vote, the application fails. So
I'm okay with that.
so I
I'm
just
fine
want
with
to
that.
make sure the applicant's aware of that, and if they want to continue the hearing, we certainly would. But so I call whoever is speaking on behalf of the applicant. The floor is yours.
Hi, yes, my name is Paul McDavitt, and I am the owner, along with my wife Tish. And as we met last time, we were looking to put farmer's porch on, as well as a back deck. I believe the issue last time was that we were only set back about 5 feet or so on the back corner. We've revised it to where we're now, I believe, about 9 inches still over that line, but struggled to get it any more in that because of just logistics of where the stairs could be and what it would look like. So I'm hoping that will be suffice.
That's good. So you have anything else to add, or is that fine for now?
That's essentially, yeah. So I don't
Okay.
think there was any concerns with the farmer's porch. I think everybody was in favor of it.
Right.
I think we've reduced the footprint of the deck so that we're now 9 feet 7 instead of the 10.4. And
Right.
we're hoping that works for you guys.
Okay. So are there any members of the viewing audience on Zoom that would like to make a comment on this application? All right. Hearing none, are there any board members with questions or observations? Jan?
No, I just want to say that I appreciate the changes that he made, and I think it's going to be fine.
Okay. So no other comments then? I would like to make a motion that we go to findings.
Second.
Second. All in favor, Jan,
Aye.
Retha,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
and I vote aye myself. So Jan, would you care to read the findings?
Yes, I will. Draft findings for 20-14 special permit application. 20-14 Paul is it McDavitt?
McDavid, yeah.
McDavid, sorry. Trustee 99 Holbrook Avenue, map 20, parcel 136, request for special permits to permit construction of 1, a farmer's porch on the front of the house within the front setback, and 2, a deck on the rear of the house within the side setbacks. Okay. Farmer's porch. 1, the application of the farmer's porch is for a special permit to allow for the construction of a farmer's porch, which is hereinafter referred to as addition 1. The existing house was constructed before zoning was adopted by Wellfleet and is located 22.1 feet from Holbrook Avenue, where 30 feet is now required, and is thus a pre-existing non-conforming structure. If approved, the alteration would increase the non-conforming nature of the structure, but would not increase the current non-conformity of the front setback of 22.1 feet. 2, the applicable provisions for this application under the Town of Wellfleet zoning bylaws are section 5.4.2, which is front setback 30 feet in R1 district, section 6.1.5.1b, and section 8.4.2. 3, section 6.1.5.1b. The board finds that the alteration is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming structure. 4, section 8.4.2.1. The board finds that the addition is suitable in that it is compatible with nearby land uses which would not be damaged by addition 1. B, the board finds that the roads, drainage, and other public utilities would not be affected by addition 1. C, the board finds that addition 1 will not contribute to environmental damage. 5, section 6.4.2.2, not applicable. 6, section 8.4.2.3. The board finds that construction of addition 1 will not adversely affect scenic views from public ways or neighboring properties. Okay, I'll go on. Rear deck. 1, the application related to the rear deck is for a special permit to allow for the construction of a rear deck where none currently exists, which is hereinafter referred to as addition 2. The existing house was constructed before zoning was adopted by Wellfleet and is located 3.5 feet from the northerly boundary and 10.4 feet at its closest point from the southerly boundary, where 25 feet is now required, and is thus a pre-existing non-conforming structure. If approved, the rear deck addition would increase the non-conforming nature of the structure from 10.4 feet to 9.7 feet along the southern boundary, and the deck would be within 15.8 feet of the northern boundary. 2, applicable provisions for this application under the Town of Wellfleet zoning bylaws are section 5.4.2, side setback 25 feet in R1 district, section 6.1.5.1b, and section 8.4.2. 3, section 6.1.5.1b. The board finds that addition 2 is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming structure. 4, section 8.4.2.1. A, the board finds that addition 2 is suitable and that it is compatible with nearby land uses which would not be damaged by the addition. B, the board finds that the roads, drainage, and other public utilities would not be affected by addition 2. C, the board finds that addition 2 will not contribute to environmental damage. 5, section 8.4.2.2 is not applicable. 6, section 8.4.2.3, the board finds that construction of addition 2 will not adversely affect scenic views from public ways or neighboring properties. Done.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the findings?
So moved.
Second.
And second, and all in favor, Jan,
Aye.
Retha,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So do I hear a motion to approve the special exception request for both the front porch and the rear deck?
So moved.
Okay, second? Second, Jan, okay. All in favor, Jan,
Aye.
Retha,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
and I vote aye myself. So the request for the special exceptions has been granted. And Paul, you can contact Chris at the board sometime to get the formal approval document, the signed plan and the like, but you're set to go.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
Chris, thanks. Thanks,
Welcome.
everybody.
Enjoy.
Okay, Trevor, you're welcome to resume chairing the meeting.
Thank you, Will.
Welcome.
Okay. Last but not least, number 20-18, John and Ornella Granis, 3075 Baker Avenue.
We did that.
No,
No,
I'm
no, no.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the last one on my printed agenda, but we've already done that. Number 20-16, Robert Bowinger, 164 Cliff Road, map 24, parcel 100. Application for a variance within the National Seashore Park District to move the dwelling back from the coastal bank to within 1.4 feet from the road line and the side setback from 2.9 feet from the southerly property line. And the board for this case will be myself and Will and Jan and Manny. If you'd like to participate
Need
tonight,
one more.
it's your big chance. And
Yep.
Andy.
Thank you.
And is there somebody here from to speak to this?
Yes, Trevor Bob Behringer is here,
Yes.
and I guess my I guess the question is, if anybody has not been to the site, I know Manny knows it well. Does anybody else have questions specifically about the application that you would like me to address? Because what you read, Trevor, is pretty much what I'm requesting. So,
Okay, yeah, I personally don't have any questions. I was already familiar with the house. I've driven by it a number of times, and I did drive by it again yesterday just to take another look. Anyone else from the board?
No, I too drove by and walked around and saw the situation you're in.
thank you.
Yeah, I was there. I do have some questions, just
Yep.
because I don't,
The meeting.
well, I'm a lawyer. I don't know, these plans don't do anything for me. You're proposing to move the septic as well, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And
Would you like me to put the plans up so that everybody can see, or is there anything specific you?
no, I just want to be clear as to, I read it before, proposed,
There
could you
is,
just quickly point it out to me? I'm having trouble where the new septic is going to go.
Okay, so second.
Oh, it is. Okay, I see it. I see it.
You
I
got
see
it?
it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
and there's a Board of Health hearing coming up.
We've already passed the Board of Health. That's been approved.
Oh, you've already, okay.
So through Conscom, through Board of Health, you're my last stop as far as I know,
Okay.
Well,
before a building permit. Yes. Yes, Will. You have a
Great,
question,
Trevor,
sir?
did the ordinance requires that the Secretary of the Interior be notified as well? So do we have, has that been done?
I don't,
If
Chris,
I
have
could
you-
respond to that?
yes, Chris, please.
Yes. I sent them the full application. I followed up with an email and I did not receive any response from them.
Okay. Anyone else on the board? Jan?
Is Andy done?
No, go ahead, Jan.
Okay, so this is a variance request, not a special permit request, correct?
It's a
Not a-
variance.
Yeah, variance.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just for the setbacks on the western and southern border, that's all.
okay. I guess generally, I thought other people had done it as a special permit, but
Yeah, that was actually a question I had, Jan, because I think it has been done in the past under a special permit. It's not conforming now, so I don't see why it couldn't be done under a special permit. That being said, I think this would actually be a good case for a variance, so I don't think there's any reason why it can't be done under variance either.
Absolutely. I agree.
okay. Do we have any letters or comments from abutters?
No,
No, okay. I have a couple other questions. I'm a little unclear about what exactly you're doing. Are you saving any of the old house, or are you just taking it down and starting, making a brand new
No.
house, exactly
No.
the same footprint?
I believe
stripping-
they're moving the house.
Yeah, we're stripping
Yeah,
the top
more-
half, jacking it up and sliding it, west and south, and putting it on a new foundation.
That's what I
And
was.
then we'll
Sure.
remove the existing foundation and all the existing septic and remediate the existing lot.
You're
to the
gutting
best of
the
our ability.
inside. I mean, it's not really our purview, but you're gutting the inside and then totally redoing the inside.
We're
outside.
not gutting the entire inside. We're doing some rearranging of the upper floor, but we currently have 3 bedrooms on the floor, top floor that's being moved. And it's going to be 2 bedrooms on the top, and we'll have basically reconfiguring where the kitchen is into one of the existing bedrooms to make it more of a formal kitchen. So there is some interior renovation work that'll be happening, but the shell of the house is being retained.
Okay. So Cliff Road is a private road.
That's correct.
It's how is it owned? Is it collectively owned by everyone in an association? Do you own the road right in front of your house? How's the road owned?
The road is, and I'm not an attorney, so I can't give you, I can tell you that the paper road, which is 40 feet wide, 20 feet of it, I've had, each of my neighbors have extinguished their rights to it. And I went through the process of suing the Department of Interior to gain a summary judgment so that the title can be changed. So the property that I'll be moving on the house onto is effectively the half of the paper road that I own at this point. So we each own up to the center line of the abutting.
That's what I was trying to get at. So basically, you're moving the house so that 2/3 of it is going to be in what is technically the layout of Cliff Road.
Right.
It used to be, yes. And it's now, with the easement releases being extinguished and the Department of Interior signing off, it is now cleared for me to be able to move it.
So okay, I didn't understand. I thought you had to get easements from everybody in the association or something.
It's all the abutters that, and or those that would be adversely impacted by the loss of their rights. So I have everybody that's to the south of me, which are 3 property owners, Millers, Fields, and Freeman have signed off, and directly across is the Schumann Ross family, and they also have signed off and extinguished their rights.
Okay, just, I don't know if we need to condition it that the easement is granted. Okay, the other question I have is that I had never been down to this road before, so it was really kind of fascinating. I guess I'm concerned, does the fire and rescue have any concerns about this house being moved so close to the traveled way of Cliff Road?
There's been no expressed concern as of yet. We are not encroaching on the existing road as it currently is in place. The passage on Cliff Road is on the western half of the 20-foot remaining easement. The road itself is 12.5 to 13 feet wide, depending. There's some choke points where the brush grows in, but currently there's I've not approached public safety because there's no change in terms of the configuration of the road as it currently stands.
Okay, I just throw that out to my board members.
It's a good question.
Okay, I also don't have a real clear understanding about exactly where your deck is going. I mean, you say the approximate location, and we generally deal with exact locations and plans with exact locations. So I'd like to know how my other board members feel about that.
Let me see if I can share it with you.
The variance is requesting a front setback 1.5 feet from the road line. And I don't know what you mean by the road line. Do you mean the traveled way?
Well, let me share a different document then. So I'll stop that one. The roadway as it stands, and hopefully this will give me what we want to see here, which is not my emails, but I want to show you the.
I won't look.
Well, there's nothing in there that's all that exciting. It's one of these frustrating things where, well, actually, this might be a better way of looking at it, because I was trying to pull up the. See if this one will give you a better visual. So this is not necessarily a survey, but I'll work to get the survey up. So if you can see the house in red is the proposed new location. If you can see that. Okay. So this section over here, let me see, I can actually, I'm getting better at using the technology here. So let me see if I can get a pointer that allows you to, I don't know, can you see my arrow?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. So what's green here is effectively, it's a sandy road, but that's the road itself, which is currently 12 to 13 feet wide. The house, effectively, the property line is the center of the road, if you will, is from this edge to here is 20 feet, which is the center of the property. And my setback off the center of the property line now, with the easements being extinguished, I'd have to have a setback that's much greater than the 1.9 feet. So what I'm asking effectively is for me to move instead of, with a proper setback based on zoning rules, is to be 1.9 feet away from the edge of the property line here. Now, where my arrow point is the 20-foot center of a 40-foot paper road. So from here to here is the remaining easement that traffic will cross. And my intent is to put a berm here, which is already partially in place, but to extend it. So there's a little bit of a sound block between the house and the existing road. But I'm not sure I explained that as well enough to help you understand it. But
Bob, if you go to sheet 4, shows it pretty well, I think.
I don't know. Here's an over the head view, which isn't sheet 4, but let me show. This is the Google Earth. So you can see the road basically runs down here. And this is
I
okay.
understand that, and I was there, but
The blue dotted line here, Jen, is the current property line
With the easement.
with my easements being extinguished.
Yep.
So, and I mean, I don't know if legally I can say is the easements no longer exist if everybody's extinguished their rights to them, and the Department of Interior has awarded me rights to it. So as far as I understand it, legally, that's no longer an easement. It's now my property.
Yep.
So this section from the blue dotted line here over to the edge of where you see the dirt road currently, that's 20 feet. So the full 40 feet would have been over here, basically. So what my proposal is I would like to move the house what's here into this space and be granted a variance on this 1.9 feet here instead of having to have it 5 feet from the property line. I think it's 5 feet isn't what would normally be the setback.
so it's going to be 1.9, at the front of the house is going to be 1.9 feet from what technically what we're going to call your new property line?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure we word this correctly, legally.
Yes. And also, Jen, your question about the deck below here is, so here's this
It's in
blue
the,
line.
you've got it in the drawings here, I believe. I'm sorry.
Well, it's,
Well, I see it, but it says approximate
well, it's because,
location, and that's
I mean,
not how we use. Is that okay? I guess what I want to say, let me address this to Trevor. We can't word a findings of fact based on approximate locations, can we? Or can we?
Well, I mean, any proposed plan is going to be approximate because it's a proposed plan. If we wanted to, we could request that once it's done, he provide an as-built to certify that it is where ended up where he said he was going to put it.
I want something that the building inspector can look at and say, yeah, you did what the zoning board said you were supposed to do.
there will be an as-built regardless and that can be as part of, because I need to do that for CONSCOM as well.
The building department requires an as-built.
Okay.
Right.
So, but I left things as approximate only because I don't know, one, what you're going to permit me to do, what the building department's going to permit me to do. And, the intent is, because I'm partly also wanting to, with agreements with my neighbors, is reduced any sort of sightline obstructions. And the deck will be below the sightline for my neighbor, Doug Freeman, but I'm trying to, be a good neighbor the best I can.
Okay, thank you.
Andy, you had some questions or something? Or?
Yeah, I just, I went down there, I don't know, it was a beautiful day, just the other day.
Yep.
And I didn't think, but I want to make sure it's clear, you confirm this, that you're not, when you put this berm in, you're not going to, the berm won't be going into the sand road any more than what's there now. Is that correct?
No, correct. My intent is there's a berm that's a natural berm that's right here.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. Yeah.
And my intent is to extend it. The other thing is this section right here is the low-lying portion of Cliff Road.
Mm-hmm.
And underneath this deck is intended to be a gravel
put a swale in there,
pit. So that we have the ability to at least have drainage into a pit of sorts.
I wasn't worried about water. I was actually worried about the ability of cars to to get
The
past,
building.
to travel along this road, you know, there are a couple of houses to the south of you, obviously.
Our biggest issue here, Andy, is a
Water.
combination of runoff and which causes accumulation of sand in the space, plus the fact that during any of the major windstorms, it's not unusual to get 6 to 10 inches of sand blown up over the coastal bank and onto the road.
Wow.
So we're doing a lot of plowing of sand just to be able to, if you don't have a 4x4, you're generally at risk.
Okay.
But that's, I mean, you know, it's a paper road, it's privately held, it's part of the joy of living there.
No, I understand. I just, yeah.
If you want to call it that, it's part of their, yeah.
You own the property, you can call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to be sure. That's what I thought, but then I wasn't so sure from one of the drawings that you showed us. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Manny, you got any comments on this?
No, I don't. I'm all set on this.
Retha, I know you're not voting on this, but if you have anything to add?
The only thing I can say is I'm glad they're going to move it because it'll be over the edge before too long if they don't.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be. It's just a question of when.
That's right.
Hopefully 10 or 15 years from now, but we'll remove it before that happens.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? I do have some draft findings if we're ready to go there.
I move we go to the findings.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Manny. All in favor of going to findings? Will?
Aye.
Jan?
Aye.
Manny?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So I have some draft findings that I will read. Guys can tell me if you have any comments or changes. Number 1, this is an application under Massachusetts General Laws, Section 10 and Wellfleet zoning bylaws 8.4.3 for a variance from the side and front setbacks in order to relocate an existing residential dwelling due to coastal bank erosion. Number 2, the lot is in the National Seashore Park District. Number 3, the lot contains 5,589 square feet of land area and is non-conforming as it is undersized. Before I keep going, does that number include the new easement area? Does anyone know?
It would not. No, that was the existing lot prior to the easement.
So if we're treating this as the easement is now part of the property, then
Need to add that.
would
So it's
want
an
to
extra 2,000 feet,
correct that number, correct?
20 by 100.
How much is it?
20 by 100.
Okay, so just a straight 2,000?
Yes, sir.
So then we should change number 3 to say the lot contains 7,589 square feet of land area and is non-conforming as it is undersized. Yes. Number 4, there is an existing dwelling of approximately 972 square feet. Number 5, the applicant proposes to relocate the dwelling westward, which would create nonconformities to the front setback of 1 foot 5 inches and the side setback of 2 feet 9 inches. That's to the south side. Number 6, the applicant proposes no change in the size of the dwelling. The applicant proposes some changes to the interior layout, including relocating 1 bedroom from the first floor to the basement. Number 7, there will be no change in use. Number 8, pursuant to the conditions that must be met to grant a variance under Wellfleet zoning bylaw 8.4.3, the board finds that A, the topography due to the eroding coastal bank and the location on the Atlantic Ocean specifically affect the structure in question, but do not affect all properties in the National Seashore Park District. Number 8B, without relief from the rear property setback, that should say the front property setback, I think. Without relief from the front property setback, the applicant would not be able to relocate the structure sufficient sufficient distance to permit safe ongoing use of the structure. This would result in significant hardship as the alternative is to demolish the structure. Number 8C, relocating the structure will not inhibit public access to adjacent properties, and the applicant plans to maintain the roof line as much as possible to preserve scenic views. Number 8D, relief may be granted without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. And number 9, the applicant understands that under Wellfleet zoning bylaw 8.4.3.1, the Secretary of the Interior is authorized to withdraw the suspension of his authority to acquire by condemnation property which is made subject of a variance or exception that in the opinion of the Secretary fails to conform or is in any manner opposed to or inconsistent with the purposes of the Cape Cod National Seashore, and that the Wellfleet Zoning Board of Appeals must give notice of any variance granted or denied within the Seashore District. And that's what I have for finding.
And Trevor, just the point of correction, perhaps, it's 1.5 feet, not 1 and 5 inches. So it would be 1 foot 6 inches
Okay.
setback and 2 3/4 feet. Is that right? No, 2.9 feet. So that's almost 2 feet 11 inches or thereabouts. That's the only thing I heard. That's
okay. Thank you for those.
Thank you.
Trevor, just one thing.
Yes.
When you mentioned the square feet of the lot, does
Yes.
it make any sense to say which includes the easement, just so anybody looking at it would understand that it includes the easement?
We could say including in the easement, the recently granted or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
So yeah, somebody who's reading it who wasn't in this meeting would understand what was going on.
Yep. Okay. All right, any other comments on the findings? Would anyone like to move the findings?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Jan moved, Will seconded. We'll take a roll call vote on the findings. Jan,
Aye.
Will,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Manny,
Aye.
and myself, aye. And we're looking for a motion to grant the variance then.
I move that we grant the variance.
Andy moved,
I'll second it.
Will seconded. And a roll call vote. Andy,
Aye.
Will,
Aye.
Jan,
Aye.
Manny,
Aye.
and myself, aye. So there you go.
Ladies and
Variance
gentlemen,
granted.
thank you so much for your time.
Get in touch
Have a
with
good
Chris
night.
as
Thank
to the
you.
next steps.
Good luck.
Yeah. I need lots of luck. Manny, take care of yourself too. Good to see you guys again.
Have a good night.
Thank
Take
you.
care, guys. Cheers.
Okay. I believe that concludes all the cases
Trevor,
we have.
I do want to ask you, what, will you repeat again what we're going to do with the last one on this list?
The last one on the agenda,
Yeah, on the agenda. What
the
is it?
last one on the agenda was withdrawn by the applicant.
Okay, great.
My understanding, they will be coming back to us at some point in the near future, but at this point, it is withdrawn.
Okay, thank you.
Just out of curiosity, has the construction stopped? Construction/demolition stopped? Does anyone know?
I do not know, but that'll be up to the building inspector.
I know it's not within our purview, but I was just curious.
Yeah. Well, this only happened yesterday, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
didn't see anybody there this morning.
Okay.
That's about 8 o'clock.
Paul Fowler, our new building inspector, put a stop order on all work.
Okay.
There will be, the dumpster is going to be emptied and fencing will be placed around the construction area. And nothing can be done there until after it gets approved by our board.
Yeah,
I have
my understanding from by way of Chris is that a fence will be going up because the building inspector considered it to be a safety issue with it being half demolished as it is. So there will be a little more activity on the site with somebody having to come in to put a fence up, but
Yeah, I'm new to this board, and so when I went over there and saw what was going on, I said, wait a minute. They haven't even come to us yet. And
right.
There's something wrong here.
I saw it Monday and I'm sorry that I didn't let anybody know, but I just thought, okay, I don't know.
That's the way I felt.
Yeah, somebody.
That's the Wellfleet, that's the Wellfleet way. It's I didn't know.
Hey, you watch it.
Do we have any other business that we need to conduct?
We've got the minutes.
Oh,
Minutes?
Yeah, please.
All right, I don't have a record in front of me of what minutes need to be approved. So if somebody has that information, that would be good.
October 8th,
Yes,
October 8th.
okay. I'll move to approve the minutes of October 8th.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Will. All in favor of approving the minutes? Retha,
Aye.
Jan,
aye.
Manny,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Will,
Aye.
and myself, aye.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
No?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, take care.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Trevor. You did a great job.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Very
you.
good.
Good job,
Good
Trevor.
job.
And thank you, Will, also.
Okay, all right, bye.
Can I contest voting against adjourning so I can stay in power?
Is that a coup?
I'm bringing it to the Supreme Court.
Be careful what you ask for.
Oh, gee.
All right.
Oh,
Good night.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chris. Chris, are we all set?
Yep,
I can go?
thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.